it's cold. Happy spring break, everybody! It's Monday, and it's spring break, and I'm home visiting my parents, so I stayed in my fuzzy, warm pajamas all day, and it's wonderful. And I've been reading, and I've been reorganizing my mom's pantry, which she's very excited about, because now she won't know where anything is, and having a great time. But now I'm ready to read for you, and it's chapter 15, so here we go. Chapter 15, in which they take a chance. The entrance to the Caves of Chance wasn't very difficult to find. That worried me a little, partly because Aunt Arelle and the other wizards would probably figure out where we had gone. That seems like a problem. And partly because it isn't usually that easy to find something in the Enchanted Forest, especially if you're looking for it. Not that the way into the Caves of Chance looked as if it would move around easily. It was a large, smooth, circular hole in the ground with moss growing right up to the edge of it, and it was very dark. By the way, if you hear any whistling, that's my parents' parrot. And there's, like, lots of whistling. He goes a lot. And anyway, yeah. So, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I can. It's very distracting. It was a large, smooth, circular hole in the ground with moss growing right up to the edge of it, and it was very dark. The dragon and Shiera and I stood around the edge, staring down into it. "How are we going to get down there?" Shiera said finally. "I can't even tell how deep it is." "We'll have to use the blankets Morwen gave us," I said. "We can tie them together." "What about me?" said the dragon. "I can't climb down blankets." "I don't know," I said. "Maybe we'll think of something once we know how far it is." "What if you can't think of anything?" "Hey!" Shiera had opened her bundle to get the blankets out, and now she was staring at it as if she'd never seen it before. "Daystar, look at this!" The dragon looked a little put out. It usually isn't a good idea to interrupt someone's conversation with a dragon, but for once I decided not to say anything, because I was glad Shiera had yelled. I didn't know what was going to happen if I couldn't think of a way to get the dragon into the Caves of Chance, and I didn't really want to say so. I said, "Excuse me," to the dragon, and went over to Shiera. "What is it?" "This," said Shiera. She pulled a coil of rope out of the top of the bundle. "It wasn't here before." "Are you sure?" I asked. "Of course I'm sure," Shiera said. "Look in your pack. Maybe you have one too." Shiera was right. There was another coil of rope in my bundle, along with a little silver lamp and a set of flints, and I didn't remember seeing any of them before. We tied the ropes together, then looped one end over the tree, or around the tree closest to the hole. The dragon watched, grumbling the whole time. When we finished, Shiera and I argued about who was going to get to climb down first. We wound up tossing a coin, and I won. When we finished, Shiera and I argued... Oh, sorry. That is the paragraph I just read. It's spring break. I stuck the flints and the lamp into my belt, right next to the sword of the Sleeping King, where I could find them easily. Then I lowered myself over the edge of the hole and started to climb down the rope. It wasn't easy. The rope kept twisting around, which made me dizzy, and I kept bumping into the side of the hole. I'd gotten about 3 feet from the top of the hole when the lights went out. I stopped climbing for a minute and just hung there. I couldn't see anything except a circle of sky right above me, and that looked much further away than it should have. Then I realized that I had to start climbing one way or the other because my arms were going to get tired very quickly if I didn't move. This is reminding me of in elementary school when I had to climb the... Do you still climb the rope? And, like, climb up and you're, like, scared, but you have to keep going, or you're going to just slide down the rope and then you get rope burn and it hurts. Okay, long story. So that's what's going on here. I remember the first time I rung the bell, it was like, yes. I felt invincible. Okay. I looked up at the sky. I knew I'd only come down a couple of feet, and it shouldn't have been difficult to climb back up. On the other hand, I knew it could be extremely dangerous to start things and not finish them in the Enchanted Forest. I started down again. Climbing in the dark is not pleasant. I couldn't see where I was going. I couldn't even see the rope. It seemed like years before my feet finally touched something flat below me. I felt around to make sure what I'd found wasn't just a narrow ledge, and then I let go of the rope and called to Shiera that I was at the bottom. The next thing I did was to get out the lamp and light it. I had a little trouble since I was doing everything by feel, but I finally got it going. At first, all I could see was the tiny yellow flame. Then the lamp made a popping noise, and suddenly I could see the cave. Actually, it was more like a tunnel. Where I was standing, the walls were smooth, speckled stone. But as soon as the tunnel got out from under the hole, the walls looked rough. Oh, okay, so they finished the entryway and then inside is like, bleh. Okay. It was cool and dry and dusty, as if no one had been there in a long, long time. That's not so bad, said a voice above me. I looked up. The dragon was peering over the edge of the hole. I can jump that far. I think you should wait until Shiera climbs down, I said. Then you can untie the rope and bring it with you. Shiera's head appeared beside the dragon's. You're right. It's not nearly so bad when you can see the bottom. If you drop the bundles Morwen gave us, I can catch them, I said. Then you can climb down and we can get started. All right. Shiera's head vanished for a few seconds, then reappeared, along with a pair of hands and a bundle. Ready? Catch. Night Witch was more of a problem than the bundles. I got a few scratches catching her. As soon as I had everything, Shiera climbed down. It is ridiculous that I am yawning because I slept in this morning. And I had a very quiet day. I don't know why I'm yawning. It's not you. It's me. Okay. We picked up our things and moved into the tunnel while the dragon took care of the rope, and then the dragon jumped down. That was easy, he said. Or it said. Sorry. I thought about sliding down the rope in the dark and didn't say anything. Shiera looked from me to the dragon and back. Well, are you going to just stand there until the wizards show up again? We have to decide what we're going to hold on to first, I said. Daystar, we have to carry everything ourselves anyway, Shiera said. What difference does it make? I don't think that's what Telemaine meant, I said. There are all sorts of ways to lose things in the Caves of Chance if you aren't paying attention. But if you have something in your hand all the time and never set it down, it's less likely to disappear. If you really believe that, you'd better carry the sword, Shiera said. The only thing I don't want to lose, is Night Witch, and she can take care of herself. You're right, I said doubtfully. I didn't really want to march through the Caves of Chance with the Sword of the Sleeping King in my hand, but I certainly didn't want to lose it. Finally, I decided to take the sheath off my belt and carry the sword and the sheath together. I had some trouble doing it, though, and Shiera had to help. Are you sure this is necessary? She asked. Why can't you just wear it? Magic things are particularly easy to lose here, I said, and Mother told me to take care of the sword. I tucked the sheathed sword under my arm and picked up the silver lamp and the bundle Morwen had given me. Let's go. The tunnel slanted down for a long way and then leveled. Every now and then we came to a dark opening in the wall that led to a side passage, but we ignored all of them. Telemaine had been very specific about that. Not that they were particularly tempting. The silver lamp had no difficulty lighting up our part of the tunnel, but it didn't penetrate into the side passages at all. It's probably a magic lamp. It's my guess. After a while, the tunnel we were following jogged sharply left, then right again, and suddenly it opened into an enormous cave. The walls were crystal, and they seemed to have hundreds of different colored lights shining behind them. I stopped abruptly, staring, and the dragon bumped into me from behind. Excuse me, I said automatically. You shouldn't stop so fast, the dragon complained. It craned its neck around to see me. It craned its neck to see around me. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, this is nice! It stretched upward, and a minute later it was clinging to the crystal wall several feet above us. I backed away hastily. I didn't want to be underneath if the dragon slipped. Where are we supposed to go from here? Asked Shiera, ignoring the dragon. This must be the Cave of Crystal Lights, I said. Telemaine said to walk straight across. There ought to be 3 passageways on the other side, and we are to take the left one. I see them, the dragon said. It squinted across the cave, then climbed down and sat beside us. They aren't straight across. They're over that way a little. It waved to the right. I lost my accent. I'm sorry. I see them, the dragon said. It squinted across the cave, then climbed down and sat beside us. They aren't straight across. They're over that way a little. It waved toward the right. That would be over there. To you. No. Yes, to you. That way. I looked at the dragon. I think we should follow Telemaine's directions. The Caves of Chance are even trickier than the Enchanted Forest. I don't want to risk getting in trouble if we don't have to. I didn't mention that the last time we had taken the dragon's advice, we'd run into a fire witch, and Shiera had gotten turned into a statue. But I was thinking it. Shiera nodded in agreement. All right, the dragon said sullenly. That means pouting. But I think you're being silly. We started walking again, trying to go straight across the cave. The walls curved in and out, and the floor humped up in low mounds and ridges. Between that and the shifting colored lights, it was hard to be sure we were going straight. Shiera and I backtracked a couple of times, just to check, and every time we did, the dragon grumbled. Finally, we got to the other side and saw the 3 openings. The dragon stared at them, then looked around suspiciously. "Where did these come from? These aren't the ones I saw." "Well then, it's a good thing we followed Telemain's directions," Shiera said. "Otherwise, we'd be lost. Come on, let's go." She scowled and headed for the left-hand passageway. I started after her, and right away I tripped and fell. "Ow!" I said. Shiera looked around, then came back to help me up. "What happened now?" she said. "I tripped," I said. "I've still got the sword, but I dropped the lamp." "Where is it?" "I don't see it." Shiera sounded a little worried. She had reason to be. Without the lamp, we wouldn't be able to see anything once we got out of the Cave of Crystal Lights. "It can't be very far away," I said, and we started hunting. Shiera went one way, and I went the other. About half a minute later, I saw something glittering. "There it is!" "No, it's over here," said Shiera. She bent over and picked up something from behind a rock. "It's still burning," she said, sounding surprised. "It lights up more space than it ought to, too," I said over my shoulder. "Morwen probably put a spell on it." "Where are you going?" Shiera said. "I saw something over here, and I want to know what it is," I said, especially since it obviously isn't the lamp. Shiera started to object, but right then I saw the glittering thing again, and I bent to pick it up. "Here it is," I said. "See?" My fingers touched metal, and a fountain of sparks shot up from the floor of the cave where my fingers were. I yelled and fell backward. The fountain hissed and sizzled angrily, getting bigger and brighter and hotter every minute. I scrambled back toward the others. Blue and white and purple sparks started falling around us, and all of us ran for the left-hand tunnel. Night Witch yowled as one of the sparks hit her, and Shiera scooped her up and kept on running. We made it to the tunnel, but no one stopped until we were well inside, not even the dragon. When we finally got out of reach of the falling sparks, we stopped and panted for a while. Fortunately, Shiera had hung on to the lamp as well as to Night Witch. When she set Night Witch down, the kitten glared back toward the mouth of the tunnel, then began determinedly washing a spot on her back where the fur was a little singed. "What was that?" Shiera asked as soon as she had her breath back. "I don't know," I said. "I was just trying to—" I stopped. I was holding something in my right hand. I didn't even remember grabbing it. "It went off when I picked this up," I said, and I opened my fingers. I had 3 pebbles of various sizes, a little sandy dirt, and a small gold key. A tingle ran down my back as I looked at the key, and I jumped. "Now what?" said Shiera. "I felt something," I said. "Sort of like the sword when it's finding magic, but not the same." "Is it magic?" the dragon asked. "I don't know." "Well, find out," Shiera said impatiently. "I thought that was what the stupid sword was for." I sighed a little and shifted all the things I was carrying until I could put my left hand on the hilt of the sword of the Sleeping King. I didn't feel any tingles, but the key started to glow. We all stared at the key for a minute. "I knew it was magic," the dragon said happily. "I don't feel anything from the sword, though," I said. I took my hand off the hilt, and the key stopped glowing. "So, the sword makes it glow, doesn't it?" Shiera said. "It has to be magic. What are you going to do with it?" "I'm going to keep it, at least until we talk to Kazal," I said. "She may know what it's for, or who it belongs to." "It belongs in the cave," something said in a bubbly voice behind us. I jumped and turned around. There wasn't anything there. Shiera and the dragon and I all peered into the darkness. Night Witch looked up from washing her back long enough to hiss, and then continued washing. "Who said that?" Shiera demanded. "Me. You better put that key back right away," said the same voice. I still didn't see anyone. "Why?" I asked. "Because it belongs here," the voice said. It sounded like water hitting a hot frying pan. "Give it back to me, and I'll put it back." "If you want it, you'll have to come out here where we can see you," said Shiera firmly. There was an unhappy bubbling voice from the dark part of the tunnel, and then a series of unpleasant squishing sounds. Ew. A moment later, something wobbled into the light from the silver lamp. It was about 4 feet tall, so about as tall as you, and it looked like a slightly sloppy pillar of very dark blackberry jelly. "There," it said. "Now give me the key." I was so busy trying to figure out how it could talk when it didn't have a mouth that I didn't answer. I was still trying when Shiera asked, "How do we know it's your key?" "It isn't my key. I just take care of it. Give it to me." The jelly was shaking angrily and bobbing up and down like the lid on a tea kettle. Every time it bobbed up, the pillar of jelly stretched thin, and when it bobbed down, the jelly made a sort of flattened hump, and every time it moved at all, it wobbled. Oh, the dragon, who had been standing behind Shiera, poked its head around over her shoulder to see better. "That stuff reminds me of something," the dragon said. "I can't think what, though. What is it?" "I," huffed the jelly, "am a quazzle." It leaned forward as if it were trying to peer at us and asked haughtily, "What are you?" "It's a dragon," Shiera said, a little nastily. "Can't you tell?" The pillar froze in mid-wobble. "There are no dragons underground," it said. "None." It leaned cautiously in Shiera's direction for a minute, then started bobbing again. "You aren't a dragon. I want that key. It belongs in the cave, and it's going to stay there." Of course she's not a dragon," the dragon said. "I'm a dragon, and I've never heard of a quazzle before." The quazzle bent a little, then froze again. "Gloop," it said. The dragon tilted its head to one side. "I don't think you're very polite," it said. The jelly burbled unhappily to itself. It looked as if it were boiling. The little dragon kept staring at it, and suddenly the dragon's eyes started to glow. "I know what it reminds me of," it said triumphantly. "Dessert!" The quazzle shrieked and collapsed backward into the darkness just as the dragon's head shot toward it. The dragon kept going, knocking Shiera and me out of the way as it went past. We heard several squishing noises, then an angry snort from the dragon, followed closely by a small puff of flame that lit up the dark end of the tunnel. I got a brief glimpse of the dragon before the light died, but I didn't see the quazzle anywhere. There was a disgusted-sounding growl, and a moment later the dragon stalked back into the light from the silver lamp. It got away. "Well, I'm glad it's gone," Shiera said. She frowned. "You shouldn't go around trying to eat things all the time, especially if you don't know what they are. I wouldn't be surprised if quazzles were poisonous or something." "Dragon's bane is the only thing that poisons dragons, and that quazzle wasn't polite, and I'm hungry," the dragon said. It shook its head sadly. "Wizards taste good, but they aren't very filling." I put the key in my pocket and rummaged in Morwen's bundle. I was sure I still had some meat pies, and I didn't like the idea of traveling with a hungry dragon. I found the food and offered it to the dragon, who brightened up a little and accepted. "We ought to keep going," Shiera said, as the dragon sat back against the wall of the tunnel and started eating. "Suppose that quazzle thing comes back." "I don't think it could really do much to us," I said. "It didn't look very dangerous." "You can't always tell by looking," Shiera said darkly. "That's true of lots of things. You can't tell how dangerous a person is by looking at them, so always be careful. And if that marmalade mess wants the stupid key badly enough, it'll think of something." "Marmalade is orange," I said. "The quazzle looked more like blackberry jelly to me, and I still don't think it's going to come back, not while the dragon is around." "Well, you'd better carry that key in your hand," Shiera said. "I think it's important, and it might fall out of your pocket or something." "All right, but you'll have to keep the lamp. I don't think I can manage the sword and the things Morwen gave us and the lamp and still hold the key." I dug the key out of my pocket again. Maybe it did belong to the quazzle, but the more I thought about it, the less likely that seemed. And if the key had something to do with the sword, I wanted to hang on to it. "You don't have to juggle the things until we start walking again," Shiera said, but she kept the lamp. Just then the dragon looked up. "I'm done," it said. "Where do we go now?" Where we go is to chapter 16, in which things get very dark for a while. Oh, I wonder what happens to the lamp. So, look how far we are. We are like, 2/3 of the way through. So we only have, see, we're at chapter 16. Next, we have 17, so there's only 22 chapters. So we only have 7 chapters left to read, which is very exciting, and we will definitely finish before the end of the year. So maybe I can give you a little, intro to the rest of the books before the end of the year, and, yeah, that will be really fun, because remember, this is just one in the whole series, and there's a long series. Very fun. So, again, that was chapter 15, and then next time we'll have chapter 16, in which things get very dark for a while. I hope you guys are having a great break. I sure am, and I will see you again next Monday. Bye!